Did you know the money you use every day almost didn't exist? The US dollar's creation changed the fate of a nation and the world. Before the familiar greenback, America was a financial mess. Imagine a bustling colonial market where a farmer tries to buy supplies. He might offer Spanish silver pieces, French coins, or even British pounds. Every transaction was a complicated negotiation. This chaotic system was holding back the growth of the colonies. Something had to change. Then, the spark of revolution ignited. The year is 1775. The American Revolutionary War has just begun. The 13 colonies, united in their fight for independence, face a monumental challenge: how to fund a war against the most powerful empire on earth. They had no treasury, no central bank, and no unified currency. Raising an army, buying guns, and feeding soldiers required a massive amount of money they simply didn't have. The answer? They decided to create their own. Enter the Continental Congress, a gathering of the brightest minds from the colonies. In a bold move, they authorized the printing of a brand new currency. They called it the Continental. These were some of the first paper bills ever seen in America. Promissory notes backed not by gold or silver, but by the sheer hope and determination of a future victory. On June 22, 1775, the first $2 million in Continentals were issued. It was a revolutionary idea for a revolutionary time, but this new money faced immediate problems. The British, seeing an opportunity to cripple the American war effort, launched a massive counterfeiting operation. They flooded the colonies with fake Continentals printed on the same paper, sourced from the same mills. Panic spread. People lost faith in the currency. The phrase "not worth a Continental" was born, a bitter joke reflecting the paper's plummeting value. By the end of the war, the Continental was virtually worthless. The nation's first experiment with paper money had been a spectacular failure. The dream of a stable American currency seemed dead. After securing independence, the young United States was a nation in name, but not in practice. It was a loose confederation of states, each with its own interests and, you guessed it, its own money. The financial chaos continued. The nation was drowning in debt from the war, and without a strong central currency, trade was grinding to a halt. Leaders like Alexander Hamilton knew this was an existential threat. A nation that couldn't manage its money couldn't survive. It was time for round two. The stage was set for one of the most important debates in American history. The year is 1785. The Congress of the Confederation is wrestling with the currency problem. Thomas Jefferson, a visionary thinker, proposed a new system. He argued for a decimal-based currency, breaking away from the complicated European systems of pounds, shillings, and pence. A system based on tens, hundreds, and thousands would be simple, logical, and uniquely American. He also championed the name for this new unit of currency, the dollar, a term already familiar to colonists from the widely circulated Spanish dollar, or piece of eight. The idea was brilliant, but it needed a symbol. Where did the iconic dollar sign, the S with a line or two through it, come from? The exact origin is debated, but the most likely theory points back to that same Spanish dollar. Merchants writing account books would abbreviate pesos as P's. Over time, as they wrote faster, the P and the S began to merge. The curve of the P became the line drawn through the S. It was a symbol born from the practical needs of commerce, a fitting origin for the future currency of global trade. Finally, in 1792, the vision became reality. President George Washington signed the Coinage Act. This landmark legislation officially established the United States Mint in Philadelphia and authorized the creation of the US dollar as the nation's standard unit of money. It defined the dollar's value in terms of a specific weight of gold and silver, creating a bimetallic standard. For the first time, the United States had a legitimate government-backed currency. The chaos of the past was finally giving way to order. The first U.S. coins began to roll out of the new mint. There were copper cents, silver dimes, quarters, half-dollars, and the magnificent $1 silver coin. These coins were more than just money. They were symbols of sovereignty. They featured images of Lady Liberty, eagles, and stars, powerful emblems of the new republic's ideals. Having a unified, tangible currency fostered a sense of national identity. A farmer in Georgia and a merchant in Massachusetts were now connected, using the same money, part of the same economic system. The dollar was helping to stitch the fragile nation together, but the journey wasn't over. The 19th century was a wild ride for the dollar. The country expanded westward, and with it, a new era of wildcat banking began. Hundreds of state-chartered banks started printing their own versions of the dollar. Once again, the nation was flooded with a confusing variety of banknotes, many of questionable value. Counterfeiting was rampant. It was a financial Wild West. This instability reached a breaking point during the Civil War. Just as the Revolutionary War forced the creation of the Continental, the Civil War demanded a more robust solution. To finance the immense costs of the Union war effort, President Abraham Lincoln, his administration, passed the Legal Tender Act of 1862. This authorized the federal government to print paper money that was not redeemable in gold or silver but was declared a legal tender for all debts. These new bills, printed with green ink on the back to deter counterfeiting, were nicknamed greenbacks. This was a pivotal moment. The federal government was asserting its ultimate authority over the nation's money supply. After the Civil War, the government worked to standardize the currency. The National Bank Act of 1863 created a system of national banks that were required to issue a uniform style of banknote. This slowly pushed the chaotic state banknotes out of circulation. By the early 20th century, the dollar was on its way to becoming the single trusted currency we know today. The creation of the Federal Reserve System in 1913 solidified this, creating a central bank to manage the money supply, control inflation, and ensure the stability of the financial system. The dollar had finally grown up. Then the world changed. 2 world wars devastated the economies of Europe, leaving the United States as the world's dominant economic power. In 1944, delegates from 44 allied nations met at Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, to design a new international economic order. The result was the Bretton Woods Agreement, which pegged the world's major currencies to the US dollar, which in turn was convertible to gold at a fixed rate of $35 per ounce. The US dollar was officially crowned the world's reserve currency. From that moment on, the dollar's influence exploded. International trade, from oil to coffee, was priced in dollars. Countries around the world began holding massive reserves of dollars to stabilize their own economies. The greenback became more than just American money. It became the bedrock of the global financial system. Its journey, from a failed revolutionary experiment to the world's financial cornerstone, was complete. So the next time you hold a dollar bill, remember its incredible story. It's a story of revolution, failure, and innovation. It's a story of a divided people forging a national identity and a young nation rising to global leadership. This piece of paper and metal is a symbol of a journey that shaped not just the United States, but the entire modern world. The dollar's story is far from over, and its future will continue to shape our own. Thanks for watching. If you found this history as fascinating as we do, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the stories that shape our world. See you next time.